All right, this is interesting. I gotta bring this up here. Because a lot of people, right, especially if you're younger, have never been to a Toys R Us because the motherfuckers closed it down. Okay, this Times Square flagship store. In other words, big hugeness, right? This thing, bro. All right, we're good. No, they got actually pictures in here. All right, we got to look at the pictures. This thing, not only is it impressive from the outside, but boom, there was literally a Ferris wheel inside there. Imagine being a kid, all right? Imagine being a kid. You got all this weird crap. It's a toy store with a Ferris wheel, right? You got giant dinosaurs in there. You got this weird little guy running around just abusing everybody. I don't know what they did. A lot of toys. They had a thing where you could get ice cream and snacks. They literally had their own food court. They had the Willy Wonka candy section, right? Candyland. They had a Candyland in there next to a Wonka place. It's like it keeps going. Look at that. Look at the size of this Transformer. This is a relatively new Transformer, right? Look at that. They got all the cool Transformer toys, right? I know it's from the movie, but still. Look, arcade. They had a bunch of video games you could play. Hot Wheels. Well, I'll watch the movie. They had a whole section for Hot Wheels, right? Look, you had Superman lifting a car. These were just the props they had in the store. Look at this. Clone Wars, Star Wars stuff. Look at that. How awesome is that? This is cool. Spider-Man. Look at that. He's just up in the rafters causing all sorts of problems. Look at that. They got a little Empire State Building with King Kong on it. Bro. Lego Statue of Liberty. We got a Lego Statue of Liberty. This, dude, there was so much going on there. Look, they had a whole Barbie section. We do not, and probably never will, have a store like this. This was one store, which was multiple floors. All right? Where you had your cool Lego section. You had all this crazy crap. You had little things and props everywhere. You had your own, all the toys right there. You had an arcade. You had ice cream. You had candy. This is a dream come true for children. Now those dreams have been shattered because apparently nobody plays with toys anymore unless they're a Fortnite skin. Like, bro. So, you know, you got to keep this in mind. When people reminisce of old times, quote unquote old times, this is what they're talking about. Like, it's these weird, wonderful places you were able to go to and just be like, wow. It looks like going to Disneyland for toys. It's absolutely insane. The sheer amount of craziness that was happening. You had the Warner Brothers store. You had a Disney store. They weren't as big as this, but they were packed with a bunch of crap. What was the other place? There was another place. Dude, even the record stores were monumentally big. There was a Tower Records downtown in New York. That thing was 3 floors. It was absolutely amazing. They had concerts in there. Green Day played in there. It was absolutely astounding. There was what? So we had 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's three and a half floors, and then they had all the movies and stuff in another building altogether. It was absolutely insane. You know, so now it's like you go to a place that's like, you know, dimly lit, whatever, and they may have a little couple of collectibles or whatever. But there's no way anyone's being able to go back to that ever. It's not going to happen. Nobody's bringing that back. And if they do, it wouldn't be cost effective enough. The only time you like a Nintendo store might be fun, but it ain't going to be this many levels. You know, you have to go to an amusement park. These were the stores they had. This was just a store. This was a store in New York. That's it. Store in New York. It wasn't an amusement park. It wasn't like Toys R Us land, but it basically was. Yeah. Yeah, Virgin Megastore, Times Square was amazing. Even the one downtown was pretty good by, I want to say 20-something Street. Might have been 17th. past Madison Square Park. Yeah, but there was another Tower Records that was upper what is it, 60 something, 68th Street. That thing was 3 floors too. Had its own cafe. It was amazing. Yeah, but now it's like you cannot go anywhere that's remotely interesting anymore at all. Now, what are you going? Walmart, Target, Costco. They're essentially, some of them are shiny warehouses. The other ones are basically just warehouses. There's literally nothing interesting, jovial, or upbeat about any of these places that I go to. I feel like every time I go to one of these places, it's oppressive and it makes me die a little bit more inside. And for me, that's saying a lot. Um, the Walmart parking lot is interesting at night. Yeah, I know, but it's also risky. You know, here you just got to play with toys. Arcades were so extra back in the day. Yeah, dude, it was just like, you know, those who probably didn't hear, Chuck E. Cheese is making the adult themed, not adult in that way. Thanks, Internet. Um, retro arcades. So for adults, it's going to be like Chuck's Arcade. So to bringing that back, that might be interesting, but I mean, I don't know. Do I really need to go to that? I would still go to a Toys R Us if it was like this. Are you kidding me? I would make special trips. Chuck's Arcade, yeah. That's going to be ripe for a Five Nights at Freddy's kind of thing. I don't know, but again, if you're younger and you talk to older people and they're like, you don't realize how cool it was back then. This is one of those things that you look at and you're like, holy crap, that's actually crazy. You know, New York still has some pretty good places. You know, I mean, the M&M store. I don't know if you need an M&M Times Square shop. It's a lackluster candy in my opinion at this point. So, yeah. How is Chuck E. Cheese still around? I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe just nostalgia reasons. But yeah, I kind of just miss being able to go to someplace. Even bookstores, Barnes and Noble, still around, thankfully. Borders bookstores were huge when they were around. And they didn't have all those cool decorations and stuff, but they were big and there was a lot of interesting crap in there. Now it's like, you just scroll, literally, this is shopping now. It's like, oh, I'm just scrolling through a website. Oh, cool, that's on sale. All right, cool. All right. There's no extra sensory input that happens when you go shopping. I don't get any extra sensory input shopping anymore. Like this, I get no visuals, I get nothing. I just get that white background from whatever website I'm on. Hopefully they have a dark mode. If not, I'm basically screwed. Yeah. So, I don't know. We miss you, dinosaurs. Much like this extinct creature, so is the cool, fun stuff that used to be Toys R Us. Sadness. Borders and Walden books were amazing. Books A Million was the knockoff Barnes & Noble. Okay, Wooly Willy, whoever did this is amazing. You should know who this guy is, basically, by how he looks. But if not, I can't help you. I'll give you a hint. Firestarter. Definitely get the work experience guy to have a look at the, at least. Yeah, right. Just somebody, not one person through all that production typed in the URL. Madballs had an issue with that? Oof.